Hey guys, welcome back. I know I keep saying it, but I am still so happy and so excited to be working on this project. It definitely helps that since we actually built the witch farm, we've seen some snapshots come through increasing how much redstone witches are going to drop, which is going to make this farm even more powerful when that fully comes through. But even without that, I'm just loving the overall vibe of this project. And currently, the only thing we've done that doesn't fully fit that vibe is the AFK spot above our farm. So I think it's time we fix that and make something a little bit more magical. Yep, that is looking so much better. I mean, like I said last time, it's not necessarily anything like huge or elaborate, but I didn't really want it to be. I mean, after all, it's ultimately just an AFK spot, so while I want it to look nice and fit in, I don't really want it to draw attention away from the temple or the rest of the island, so I think this really works for that purpose. And basically, I just really liked the idea of having a bit of a manifestation of the magic from the witches just floating above the farm. And with the amethyst cluster at the top of the pyramid, it's almost like the excess magic from the temple is just being released into the sky. And over time, it's just started to create a little bit of a concentration of magic. And I was playing around with maybe having some glass panes around the ball so it's a bit more dynamic and more active, but it just didn't really look right. And then I decided that if I did that, I'd probably actually just be risking flying into some glass panes for not that much added benefit. So I may revisit the idea at some point, especially if I get inspired for a way to make it look better, but for now, I think this is already such a drastic improvement from what we had before, so that's good enough for me. But now I want to switch gears and try to get a feel for how this place is going to actually flow as a full island. Currently, it just feels very open and kind of uncertain. I mean, obviously we know where our two temples are going, but as I mentioned before, I want to hopefully include lots of other smaller buildings and points of interest and ignore the cursed vines. We just ignore those. But it would be really nice to actually plot out at least a little bit of this island so I can get a general feel for what we have room to add and where things might be best to go. So I think the best way to do that is going to be to put down some pathways and maybe some signs if I have an idea for exactly where a structure might be, and just see if we can get everything nice and balanced. Now that feels so much better. What felt like a big empty expanse now feels much more organized and sensible in my head, and it feels so good. And I mean, it feels kind of silly for paths and signs to make that much of a difference, but it really does. I guess it's kind of like that writing problem with fear of a blank page and not knowing how to fill it. And I mean, obviously, the island wasn't totally blank, but now the emptier areas no longer feel quite as daunting as they previously did because there's a path and at least a semblance of a plan. And the best thing is, things can so easily change if needed. If we suddenly have an idea for something else to add or a better place for something, it's so easy to move a path and a sign, and that is brilliant. But obviously, we're not moving anything quite yet, so let's have a brief tour of my current layout. Starting, of course, at our wonderful witch pyramid. So over to the side, just off the courtyard, I think it would be really nice to have a small little building, maybe a small place where people can give offerings to the gods without having to go into the full temple. I'm not quite sure, but I just like the idea of a small, not too tall building that's just slightly raised off the ground. And then further around the side of the pyramid, and I think I'll probably need to build the island out a bit more here so it doesn't feel quite so cramped, but I think it would be nice to have a little garden area. I'm thinking maybe a bit of a formal garden, kind of like we have on our home island around the pergola, or something similar to that. Then, if we come out the front of the pyramid, we have what I imagine will be the main central pathway, which goes the full length of the island, and then off to the side, up this nice little windy path. I think it would be nice to have a taller building up here. And obviously, I don't think it should be the same size as the pyramid, because that would look a bit strange. But I think something just a little bit shorter would look really nice here. And one of the things I really want to work with that we didn't really tackle in the end project is really trying to use height variation to make the project look nicer and more dynamic. So I'm hoping a taller building here will work very nicely towards that goal. And then we just go back past the cursed vines and rejoin the main central pathway. And you'll notice that the path at this point starts going incredibly straight and boring. And that's because I don't think this section of the path is actually going to stay, because I think this is where I want to put my nether portal. I feel like placing it centrally in the island is perfect for accessibility, and it gives us something to create a sort of town square central hub around. So I think this whole area around here is probably going to be replaced with a square, so I'm not overly worried about the pathways in this area. However, I think this pathway will probably be a bit of an offshoot that comes off the square and goes up this hill towards another building, or possibly more of a shrine. I think it would be nice to have maybe a bit less of a full building here, and maybe instead have something that has some statues or just something to break things up a bit. I mean, this, along with pretty much everything I'm talking about here, definitely needs more time and thought, but I think there's something to the shrine idea here. But if we rejoin the main pathway, then we'll end up at the start of the Slime Temple's courtyard. And I don't really want to talk too much about the Slime Temple because I imagine we may end up building it pretty soon, but I will say that I think it will follow a similar principle to the Witch Temple, including having the courtyard out front. So that will probably start around here. And then if we carry on over what will end up being the courtyard, and then we go up this little path up the hill, I think I want another shorter building to be here. And I do think I'll probably end up connecting this hill with the slime temple on it when we eventually get round to terraforming this, instead of it being the wonderful floating platform that we currently have. But that's a problem for later. So for now, let's just fly up. And I think the staircase leading up to the slime temple will probably be here-ish because it's kind of central to the temple. So we'll have a nice little pathway leading off and curving around a bit to where I think I want another taller building just over here. Once again, just really hoping to play around both with the height of the terrain and also the height of the buildings. So fingers crossed this is going to work out. And then finally, I haven't built a proper pathway over, but I think over back here at the right at the back, I want to build up a bit more of a hill here so it's higher, and then have a sort of Zen meditation kind of garden, because I think it could look really, really cool and give a little bit of a different vibe. But I mean, at the moment I haven't got either a hill or a garden design, so this is very, very tentative, but I think it would be nice to have a bit of a taller section to the hill, so kind of hoping this is going to work. And currently, that's pretty much everything I've thought of. Obviously, there is still a lot of space around, which will at the very least need detailing, and possibly we need to add some more points of interest and buildings as I think of them. Or if you guys have any cool ideas for what might be good to include on this island, then please leave a comment. I would love to see what you guys are thinking. But for now, I am really happy with how the plan for this place is coming along. I think it's going to turn out really, really cool, and I cannot wait to keep building and developing this island with you guys. So until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you then. Bye!